For years, the Gilgo Beach case felt like proof that some nightmares never end. Then the story changed. In July of 2023, police arrested Rex Heuermann, a Massapequa Park architect who had been living what authorities described as an outwardly normal suburban life, while investigators tied him to a string of killings on Long Island. In April of 2026, he pleaded guilty to murdering 7 women and admitted to killing an 8th, turning years of suspicion into a courtroom confession. This isn't a ghost story. This is a real case with real families, real names, and a trail of loss that stretched across decades. The murders tied to Heuermann spanned from 1993 to 2010, and the women he admitted killing were Sandra Costello, Karen Vergata, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. According to prosecutors and his own plea, several of the women were strangled, and some of their remains were later found in different locations connected to the broader Gilgo Beach investigation. Many of these women were young, some were mothers, which made the long wait for answers even more devastating for the people who had loved them. The public became fixated on the case after a 2010 search for Shannon Gilbert led authorities to discover the remains of 4 women near Ocean Parkway, a group that became known as the Gilgo 4. These 4 women were Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. And police say they had worked online as escorts. In 2011, more remains were found, widening the investigation and deepening the fear that whoever was responsible had been operating for years. By the time Heuermann pleaded guilty, the case had haunted Long Island for roughly 13 years, since those discoveries shocked the region. What made the case especially chilling was not only the scale of the crimes, it was the ordinary image attached to the man later committed. Heuermann worked in Midtown Manhattan as an architect and ran RH Consultants and Associates while living in Massapequa Park with his family. Former investigators and profilers said he appeared to live a pro-social life, the kind of public image that can let a dangerous person avoid attention far longer than most people expect. That contrast helped fuel the public reaction after his arrest, because the man accused in one of New York's most notorious homicide investigations did not match the stereotype many people imagined. Part of the reason this case lasted so long is that it stretched across years, locations, and changing investigative leadership. In 2022, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison created a dedicated task force with the Suffolk County Police Department, the FBI, and the New York State Police, and that renewed push helped drive the breakthrough that followed. Officials later said the team used hundreds of subpoenas and search warrants after focusing on Heuermann, allowing investigators to map phone activity, internet history, and forensic links in far greater detail. The break in the case came from patient police work and updated forensic methods. Investigators re-examined witness statements and focused on a green Chevrolet Avalanche linked to the disappearance of Amber Costello, then connected that lead to Heuermann. From there, prosecutors said burner phone records, cell site data, and DNA evidence helped build what experts later called an overwhelming case. One of the most widely reported details was that investigators recovered DNA from a discarded pizza crust in Manhattan and used it to connect him to hair evidence tied to the victims. As the investigation expanded, prosecutors said that they also found a major digital trail. Court filings and reporting described searches tied to violent pornography, serial killers, and the Gilgo Beach case itself, along with what prosecutors called a planning document that laid out ways to avoid leaving evidence. That document, according to prosecutors, listed concerns like DNA, tire marks, fingerprints, and cleanup steps, painting a picture of someone they said planned with disturbing precision. Still, the arrest was only one chapter. The case kept growing after July of 2023. Heuermann was initially arrested in connection with the killings of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, then later charged with the killings of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Sandra Costello, Jessica Taylor, and Valerie Mack. By the time he entered his guilty plea earlier this month, he had admitted in court that he killed all 7 women named in the indictment and admitted to killing Karen Vergata. That guilty plea was needed because it ended years of denial and spared families a long public trial, even though it could never undo what was already done. Suffolk County officials said Heuermann is expected to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, with sentencing scheduled for June 17th. His defense attorney also said Heuermann agreed to cooperate with the FBI's Behavioral Analyst Unit as part of the plea process, but the most important part of this story is not the man at the center of it. It is the women whose lives were taken and the families who kept pushing when the case looked frozen in time. For years, their grief had to compete with delay, doubt, and silence. Then the evidence caught up, then the arrest happened, and then the confession came. What once looked like an unsolved mystery became a documented chain of crimes, admissions, and evidence tied to one man. If you take anything from this, take this. Danger does not always look obvious. Sometimes it hides behind a routine, a job title, a neighborhood, and the illusion of normal life. This is why attention matters. This is why the victims matter. This is why names matter. Sandra Costilla, Karen Vergata, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Remember Melissa Barthélemy. Remember Megan Waterman. Remember Amber Costello. Share verified facts. Reject rumors. Keep the focus on where it belongs. The truth, on accountability, and the people who deserve far better than what was taken from them. See you in the next one.